So briefly, I'm just going to jump into what we've done in Pokhara, and then Arogya will show you what that looks like. I'm not really going to go into detail about where Pokhara is located. It's 200 kilometers west of Kathmandu, and it's 424 square kilometers, and around 500,000 people live there. And it's the second most important city in Nepal, and the major city in western Nepal. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the creation part straight off. So let's go to the before and after, and Roshan, who's our GIS analyst for our project, is going to help me with this. So since Faith also mentioned before and after and what the images look like, so we've got this after-before map slider that Neerav Puraswamy created, and the link for that is right there. So most of what we've done in the first year of our project was basic data generation and creation of data. So that was the main focus of our work, and that is clearly highlighted by the before and after map slider, because it shows what was available before and now what we've added to it. And so in this slider, this is just first, this is just the Pokhara area, and if you can zoom out all the way, zoom out as much as you can over there. So this is what Pokhara was when we started off the project. Its total area changed as well while we were doing the project, so now it's doubled in size and has become the largest metropolitan in the country land area-wise. But on the left-hand side, you have the before imagery, and on the right-hand side, you have the after imagery. So let's slide it all the way up there and then see what it looked like. So as you can see, it was pretty blank at this scale as well. There are some major trunk lines that have been made, and then the main airport is visible. Now if you look at the after image at this scale, and then just pan right over there, so you'll see that not only this airport, but the new airport that's being built is constructed over here. Lots of lines and streets and lots of street names pop up. And now if we can zoom into this area, which is the main tourist area of Pokhara, and I just want to quickly show what it used to look like before. And so this is the busiest and what Pokhara is known for. The tourist area, the lakeside area of Fewa Lake. And there were a few hotels mapped along the way. But this area is far more busier than that, and there's far more buildings than that. So we spent a lot of time mapping areas like this remotely while we were working there, and then field validating it. So if you look at the after imagery of that same location, if it loads, then you'll see that there's a lot of buildings in that location and a lot of details available. So this website link is available, and I'll make it available. I guess it's not working right now, so no point showing it. I had initially put still screenshots, but I think we removed them because we were planning on going with this. But the other thing we've done is not only the main tourist area, but also areas slightly west, residential areas of Pokhara. They've been detailedly mapped in terms of every single building footprints have been mapped. Then we had local workshops where people went on the field, and we have some of the students from Western Regional Campus who helped us with that. Thank you for coming. So they've gone door to door, looked at the house numbers, and added that information within the map as well. So that sort of detailed mapping was done using basic OpenStreetMap tools such as OSM Tracker for Android, field papers, and so on and so forth. So now this is OpenStreetMap, and this is the sort of data that I was talking about. So these are the building footprints that have been mapped in detail, and then within each building footprint, because as Melinda mentioned that our project is about critical infrastructure and about disaster management and emergency preparedness. What we did was we focused on mapping critical infrastructure such as hospitals, schools, kindergartens, and then adding secondary attributes within those data. So most of the secondary attribute you can see is listed here. And so this is for an example of a hospital. And then you can see if there's an emergency service available or not, if there's an ambulance service available, is there an X-ray machine? And obviously the really important information such as basic phone numbers, contact information in terms of an emergency, figuring out if there's enough beds there, just calling that hospital and finding that out. So all of those information is available in OpenStreetMap, and it can be extracted and used in other formats as well. So it's the same thing, but this is an example of a hotel, and I put this because when we talk about this mapping of critical infrastructures, the municipality, the local government, and then also our foreign guests who normally come, they're more interested in the tourism areas and hotels, and so they've also pushed us to map in these features as well. And that helps us with balancing out, government buying. So we get to map, hospitals, schools, and all these details. And then in return, we also map these tourism maps, and the local government is more, happy to use our data. So this is the, website that we've created, and Arogya is going to show details about that just in a little while. And then there's also a mobile application. It's only available in Android right now, and we have a reason behind that as well. Most of our mapping work that we've done, we've taken data of all the students, what sort of mobile OS they use, and almost 90-95% of the people use Android mobile applications, so that is the platform that we've chosen for our project. We've also done groundwork validation, and the street view of Pokhara has been done as well. So this is using Mapillary platform. So this is the areas that we've covered, and this slide needs to be updated because we've done other areas after this imagery was taken. And one of the main reasons behind doing the street imagery is the roads in Pokhara, even though it's the second biggest city and the most important in Western Nepal, they aren't consistent and they don't look perfect. And the municipality, the metropolitan, wanted to know what sort of street data there is available, what was the street condition. So this has helped us in doing that. And as you can see, Pokhara can change drastically from urban to rural really fast, and there are roads that are completely dirt roads as well. So those are the major creation issue that I wanted to cover, and then obviously that means that these data points have certain numbers behind them. And people are always interested in numbers and bars and graphs. So I'm just going to start with a few. So these buildings and roads that we've managed to map, 160,240 buildings, these are mostly remotely mapped using satellite imagery that yesterday Dr. Lee Schwartz talked about, Melinda talked about, and Faith talked about. So these are based on the high resolution satellite imagery. But then details such as delving in further and figuring out what is a health facility and details about how many hospitals are there. This is more local data collected by going on the field, validating, also communicating with local organizations, asking what data they have, and then figuring out if we can find that place. And so these are geolocated results that we've got, and so we can confidently say there's I think there's 37 hospitals in Pokhara. So I can say that because we've done this over and over again. And then even within health facilities, there are further breakdowns, and so we've tried to capture all of that to give a complete picture of health facilities, for example. And similarly with financial institutions and groups and organizations, where we focus more on the government offices and where they're located. So, for me, this is all about deeper zoom levels, richer data sets, and trying to complete the data set by putting in those secondary attributes, making them all available for free and easily accessible. So this is the general trend, over a year's time and 2 years' time now. This is how we've progressed in terms of creating data. So the roads, they don't take that long when you have like good high-resolution satellite imagery, and Nepal doesn't really build a lot of roads that quickly as well. So, but you can still see there's a lot of progress. We started off with just in April there was just 1,702 kilometers of roads. By the end of July, we had around 4,476 kilometers of roads. And this was important because the first thing we did was when we met the Metropolitan and the people there and the officials there, we tried to find out, how many kilometers of road were there in Pokhara. And they told us like they didn't have this information. And so I just wanted to point that out. And similarly, this is the progress of our buildings, and it's been a growing trend. And buildings grow much more rapidly in Pokhara. It's a rapidly growing city. There are trends that go up and down for certain critical infrastructure because we're doing field verification and validation. So sometimes what's considered a hospital by someone's definition might not actually be a hospital, it might just be a clinic. So you can see that there was like 45 hospitals first given to us by the Department of Health, and then later when we went on the field we found out like there's only 30 or 35 or 37. So there's that consistency and that definition that needs to be created as well when you're doing this work, and when it's a long-term process then we can do this sort of like checking of the data and validation of the data. Finally, one of the major outcomes is spreading the word and talking about what is it that we do, bringing in participants, bringing in collaborators, and for that we've created this time mapper slider. Maybe we can quickly show that if it's possible. If it's already loaded. Or actually it's fine, let's just go back to the slider. The slides. So, we've done like series of events and they're all listed according to the date. And so it's more than 40 events that we've done. And then what location they're like done in. And then obviously like the photograph and description of what we've done. And so this is what we've been doing. So I want all of this of our data is available also on the GeoNode, which is a platform that Melinda shared, and it's extracted from OpenStreetMap. Our last final outcome, a very success story, was working with the government to publish 500 map books, and it has like details such as health posts, and then like how many health posts there are, where they're located, and so this atlas was published by the government. So if Arogya, you can just briefly demo if you want me to drive it.
Yeah, sure, that'll be helpful. Thank you, Gaurav. Hi everyone, my name is Arogya. I work at Kathmandu Living Labs as a web developer and also mostly focus on building data-driven web tools. So before we go into the demo, I would like to talk a little bit about the kind of motivation that we had when we started designing this tool, when we started building this Prepare Pokhara app. As you all already know, we've been working really hard for the last 2 years to collect high-level secondary attributes around critical infrastructure in Pokhara that is aimed at emergency preparedness and also disaster preparedness. So, so what we wanted to do was, in the lines of what Dr. Lee said in his talk yesterday, how do we make all of this data that we all know that this is useful, but how do we make it more usable? And how do we get it to a stage where it will be used by people, right? We were motivated by that, and also the fact that currently, if you look at OSM tools, I think yesterday Kate also talked about how OSM tools are a little difficult for or less user-friendly when we start using it. It's more developer-oriented. So how do we make it more user-friendly? How do we make it in such a way that a general user, such as a first responder to a disaster or policymakers, extract information that they want quickly during a time of disaster so that they can act immediately. So this is Prepare Pokhara. This was also, I'm very proud, this is the first project that I did when I joined Kathmandu Living Labs. So if you can, if you look at the screen, what you, you can immediately see that there are a few markers over there, which are hospitals. All of the hospitals in Pokhara have been mapped And you can immediately start looking at like the spatial distribution of where these hospitals are, right? And if you click on a hospital, you will start getting these secondary attributes. You'll start understanding, okay, whether the hospital has an ICU, whether the hospital has some ambulance service, but what more? Like, what if we can provide more than that? Because generally what happens is when policymakers are trying to make a decision, they want to query this information. I know where all the hospitals are. What if I want to know where hospitals in a certain ward is? We've also provided some filters so that people can easily query this information. So if you click on word, maybe say word, any word, this will immediately start subsetting the data so that you can only see hospitals present in ward number 10. Now, say you wanted to drill down a little bit more. You want to drill down to like bed capacity and see if there are any big hospitals, if there are any bigger hospitals. So we can also apply the bed capacity filters.
I don't think there's.
Yeah, okay, so there's no, maybe you can go to all wards. So now, so you get the point. It's basically allowing you to filter OSM data that is already available in OSM in a way that will allow you to like give an overview of like what is present and what can, yeah. We also have filters for the kind of like services that hospitals provide, and this is for hospitals. Gaurav also talked about how we map other critical infrastructure apart from hospitals. So Prepare Pokhara right now, it also contains data for schools and banks. Right? It's okay. I think like everyone gets the point of like what can be done with it. But now we wanted to extend it a little bit further. I think part of Secondary Cities initiative is to also allow people to contribute or like add more information into it. So we wanted to take it a little bit further and allow users to submit this information through the app itself. So if you click on the marker again, there's a small section called Edit This Data, which allows the users to directly go to OSM and upload any attributes or like update any attributes that they find in the field. Can you click on that? Yeah. So these are, if you notice, these are not similar to the tags that we've generally like accustomed to use in OSM. Basically, we have like facility, hospital, equal to yes, things. So we wanted to make it more user friendly. We wanted to make it in such a way the users immediately understand what they're doing, what they're submitting, without really knowing about OSM or without really knowing about the guidelines around OSM. That everything happens in the backend. So if you update this data, maybe we can just show it, maybe just change one of the attributes, emergency equal to no, and then submit this data. Click on. Okay, I think you have to put a comment. Submit. Anyway, this will allow you to like ask the user to log into OpenStreetMap and then start and then it will directly upload all of the changes. Okay, it was in the other window. So you can directly upload all of the changes and then it will immediately be updated in OpenStreetMap. So this app actually has been very useful for us in quite a few ways. One, when you're collecting field data, what happens is when you start looking for hospitals in OSM, it becomes difficult to understand which hospital we don't have enough information. So by making it a little bit thematic, by making it like focused on hospitals or say schools, it's very easy for us to identify, okay, this hospital doesn't have this information, let's improve it. Or let's like add this. And okay, there are also a little bit more features, I just remembered. I'm just going to talk about them a little more. So one thing that we received as feedback, this has been through a very like iterative process where it's gone back and forth with lots of users, also Secondary Cities team back in Colorado. And one of the cool things that we have is we can share an analysis that we do. Right? Can you just apply one filter, word, just a word filter or an emergency filter? Yeah. So now if you look at the insights section, it says that there are 29 out of 37 hospitals that have an emergency feature in Pokhara. That comprises 92% of the total bed capacity in Pokhara, and it comprises of 93% of all the hospital employees that are there. And say you want to share this information to someone else. Say suppose someone else wants to look at this analysis. So we can easily use the share button over there. And then it generates a small link that will lead you to the analysis. And you can also share this on social media, and it becomes very easy for us to like communicate on like, okay, these are the next steps that we can do. Another thing that we've allowed for is allowing users to download this information. Currently, we support CSV downloads and also JSON files. So if you click on it, download as CSV. Okay. Yeah. I think it's in Excel. I think it's open to the other window. Yeah. So now you can see you get all this information around all of the data that the filters have been applied to, and then based on that you can use this data for visualizing or things like that through your own tool. We've also provided JSON format data. This is mostly for visualizing in the web. It becomes more easier because it's more like acceptable in like web-based tools. So yeah, that's pretty much what we've done so far. But of course, it's an iterative process. It keeps on improving. We've added loads of features, and I think this will keep on going as we go forward. Some of the things that we are proud of is that this framework is kind of very flexible. It allows us to quickly add another, say, if you were interested in adding temples, then we can easily add temples really fast. It doesn't take so long for us to do it. Also, say you want to do it in some other 2C city, or say there's some 2C cities over there. If you're interested in some other activities, then we can easily expand it with minimal amount of work. And that's something that our tech team in KL is really proud of. So yeah, thank you.